You want? I want to make sure you're running. How many of us play the game Whack-A-Mole? We've all played that at one point or another in our life. Actually, our life is like Whack-A-Mole. I mean, life is like Whack-A-Mole game. You get one problem crop up, try to get it. No one's come up here, just going crazy trying to get the problems. You know, it's going to be about getting out of the boat. It's going to be our verses up here, Matthew chapter 14, verses 22. We're starting at 22 and go to 32. But I'm also going to start off with a story of two hunters who came across a big bear. They dropped their rifles and ran for cover. One man climbed up the tree and the other guy darted into a cave. The bear was in no hurry to eat, so he just kind of sat down there between the tree and the cave to reflect upon this good fortune that he's going to have for dinner. Suddenly, for no apparent reason, the hunter in the cave came rushing out, almost ran into that waiting bear. Hesitated and dashed back into the cave. He dashed back out again, dashed back in. A third time he come out, his partner is up there in the tree going, "Woody! Are you crazy? Stay in the cave until he leaves." "Can't pan, Woody. There's another bear in the cave." Now, we all feel like that, right? I mean, we've all had. Does it feel like your life's like that, where you're either Whack-A-Mole, where you're trying to nail problems, they crop up all the time? Or you feel like you're running back and forth between problems? You turn around, there's a problem everywhere. You know, no matter what you do, you can't escape it. If you turn to the book of Matthew chapter 14, starting at verse 22, in the midst of a storm, Jesus teaches Peter several truths. In the midst of this passage, we too can find several truths, can't we? Let's take a look at this. Starting in verse 22. Okay. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him, while he dismissed the crowd. After he dismissed them, he went up to the mountain by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone. But the boat was a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. And when the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "Is it a ghost?" they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" When they climbed in the boat, the wind died down. That's when he calmed that seas. I mean, we can, we're going to learn about several of the truths that apply to our lives today. We can rise above our own personal storms. talk about walking in faith. First, in the midst of our storms, we got to respond to the call of God. We're going to get storms in our lives. That's going to be guaranteed. People think you become a Christian, there's going to be no more storms in your life. They're just beginning. Those storms will strengthen us. The storm was raging by all appearances. 12 men were about to be lost at sea. I don't know if anybody's ever been out in the ocean and seen how that can be, especially when it starts getting foggy, something marvelous and miraculous unexpectedly happened. Jesus, approaching the boat, walking on the water, his disciples are frightened by this appearance, but Jesus comforted them by assuring them that it was him. I mean, we get into, Jesus, when Peter, of course, realized that Jesus wasn't a ghost, he asked Jesus to command him, to invite him to join him on the water. That's kind of a, I'm thinking about that, would kind of interesting walking on top of the water. But instead of staying in the boat, Peter chose to climb out of the boat and walk with Jesus. Shouldn't we as Christians be doing that? Let's step out of the comfort zone of that boat that we're in, or whatever we're in. Step out on faith. I mean, you just got to take that step. You may not see what's going on there to begin with, but we got to step out on that faith. Joy and I have been stepping out on faith with a youth group. A lot of people think it wasn't going to work. We get kids in there, maybe get 3 kids one week and 10 the next. But I look at this, everybody's reaching for Jesus.
Started it.
The first time we got started, we had somebody that really helped us out and got things started. We had about 30 kids that first one we had.
No, that was towards the end of that year. It's about 15, I think.
First day was 15, then it jumped to 30.
When we first started
it,
Yeah.
I was here.
It was crazy.
Because I was here when they started it.
Yeah. Right now on this notes. But right now on the storms, the storm of your life, we got to choose to meet Jesus and rise above that storm. Stepping out of the storm and allowing Jesus to give you fresh perspective. But in order to gain that perspective, you got to have faith that responds with action. The walk, talk, business. You got to have faith that God's going to do it. I mean, even with our children, teach them to walk. They got to have faith in us that we're not going to steer them wrong. We're not going to let them go walk off the side of a cliff. Here's something about the African Impala. You can jump from height over 10 feet and cover a great distance of about 30 feet. But these creatures can be kept in a zoo with a 3-foot-high wall around it. The animal will not jump it. One reason, they can't see where their feet are going to land. And they can't see it. Faith is the ability, actually what faith is the ability to trust what we can't see. God have us do some crazy stuff, okay? You know, we get some, I've told this story many times about when I first took on a pastor here from our director of missions that we had. He said you probably want to give the church about 6 weeks, or was it 6 months,
Yeah.
before we'd have to close doors. That was what, 5 years ago? So, we stepped out of faith. We're doing things that a lot of people thought were nuts for trying. But God led us. God is guiding us. We're stepping out on faith with a lot of different things we got going here. And you know what? I mean, we don't see a humongous growth in the church, but a lot of people in the community in our outreach ministries really,
needs it.
really appreciative of the outreach. And it's brought in some people. One lady comes in with her kids. She works. I mean, it's on and off. Our daughter sometimes works on Sundays, so it's hard, you know. So when people, it's hard for them to get there. We take that. I mean, you can understand that. You know, in the midst of the storm, we got to respond in faith that Jesus is there, right? We got to know that Jesus is going to be there to guide us. He's not going to let us fall. And the second truth, we got to keep our eyes focused on him. Look what happened with Peter when he was out there walking on the water, just hooking it towards Jesus. But once he started losing focus on Jesus, started focus on the circumstances, the wind, the waves, well, that's when he started sinking. Too often, even mature Christians, really mature Christians, will do that. All of us are going to take our eyes off of Jesus at one point or another, and then we're going to start sinking a bit. I mean, we have a truck driver here. Now you get in a foggy weather, real snowy weather. You got to have faith that there's going to be a road ahead of you. It's actually a better illustration when I was training with the fire department out in Hinckley. We had what's called a blackout drill with our men with the oxygen mask. They put black tape over it. We got across to the building. Full gear, that oxygen tank on. You got to feel your way around that building. But you got a captain out there, of course, watching you, making sure you're not going to wind up going in and running out the other door the wrong way or give yourself a predicament. For me, it's kind of funny because you hear everybody's heads hitting the table all the way down through there. You guys, trying to feel their way through, but you got faith in your partner that was ahead of you. You cross through and the guy ahead of you, you're grabbing onto the guy's turnouts on the. So you got to have faith in your partner that he's going to lead you through. I'm going to read another story real quick here about a foggy morning in 1952, July 4th. A young woman named Florence Chadwick waded into the water off Catalina Island. She intended to swim the channel from the island to the California coast. Long distance swimming wasn't new to her. She had been the first woman to swim the English Channel in both directions. The water was numbing cold that day. The fog was so thick she could hardly see the boats in her party that was ahead of her. And several times sharks had to be driven away with rifle fire. She swam more than 15 hours before she asked to be taken out of the water. Her trainer tried to encourage her to swim since they are so close to land. But before his wolf, she swam, all she saw was fog. So she quit. Only 1 mile from her goal. Later she said, I'm not excusing myself, but if I could have seen the land, I might have made it. It wasn't the cold or fear of exhaustion that caused her. It was a fog. We too many times we fail. Because we fail too, not because of fear, but because we can't see what God's got planned for us. It's like we've done with this church, we've had to step out on faith. We can't see what God's got for this church, but as a church body, as a Christian, we push on. We keep going on faith. God's gonna, God's gonna, that's where he put it, guide us in the right direction. He's gonna lead us to what he wants done with this church. We can't allow life storms to distract us, even as in our personal life, what God is calling us to do. There's been people that started some ministries that, people out there crazy, they can't see, they get frustrated. And it's frustrating, getting under, there's times I've come up here, stepped to this pulpit, and see maybe, 5 people out here. But you know what? Those 5 people are wanting to be fed God's word. And that's what God's called me to do. And finally, what we have to do is embrace the peace of God. After Jesus rescued Peter from drowning, they walked back to the boat and got in. After Jesus entered the boat, that storm calmed. Whoa. The storm just lost its power and just died off. Storms in life are powerless when God's with us. Might still be it, might still have the storms, but we have Christ in our lives. We could sure bear the storms a whole lot easier. If you're not prepared for the storm, God's your ultimate thing for storm preparation. The peace of God that we have to do one thing. Like when I used to do a lot of backpacking. I'd go prepared for anything. I took my wife and I up on a backpacker trip with them, and she saw how quick the weather can change. I took her brother up one time. He couldn't really believe it because it was just kind of a cool day. And then we got there, and it went from just a nice cool day to snowing. You want to do, take a nap in the tent and all that. He was wondering if he hibernated, I think, because he woke up, there's snow all over the ground. I'm sitting there trying to keep the campfire going with wet wood. So we had some really, really interesting things. She's heading back there. So, we got to embrace that peace of God that He has. He's given us a piece of cake. It's all right, man. I got you. We got this. Do we want to let, there's 3 things we ought to really remember. First off, when Christ calls, we got to obey. He calls us, we don't say, yeah. What's going to happen? He's going, okay, you're just going to lose blessing. A lot of us probably didn't obey God's calling at one point in our lives, right? We've all done it. We didn't get blessed with it. we're blessed. When the storm distracts you, we gotta pray. Ask God to be your signal. Be a signal to it. I don't know, because we got you're gonna get distracted because one thing's gonna come up after another. They got, I don't know what they call them. They got them in the trailers and the trucks. They have like a binder. It keeps a partial load from shifting. And I know there's times you tighten one up, go put the other one, you tighten it up, the other falls. I found out about those things. I worked at a truck stop. We're trying to put up a display of them. Every time I tightened one up, the other one fell over. And I had one driver saying, "Yeah, they work the same way in the trailer." So, but it's a distraction. And Satan loves to distract us, doesn't he? Anything to keep us from trying to worship God, rely on God. That old boy's in the middle of it. He's going to try and distract us. We just, we learn to, too often we tend to want to try to do things our way. And like Dr. Phil would say, "How's that working for you?" It don't work. Don't let the storms distract you. And when Christ comes to you, let him stay. He'll say, "Okay, you bailed me out of here." Too often, a lot of people actually do that. I mean, we've all done it. I mean, I've done it before. I've kind of, nothing. Now you start losing focus on God. Yeah. Well, guess what? Here comes something else. So why don't you just let God stay and help him knock these. God's not going to get rid of our circumstances, but he sure will guide us through those storms. You get it's kind of like a lighthouse on a foggy shore. You see that bright light, so okay, I'm getting close, God is our light, isn't he? He's our lighthouse, he's our beacon of hope. So, I'm going to ask you, when we have our invitation, choose to let God help you rise above that storm. Remembering Jesus' words, "It's all right, I'm here." Don't be afraid. Like our children, our parents have told us that. Don't be afraid. I'm here, man. I'm here with you.